Welcome to the Finisher, a podcast about professional wrestling and all things, well, wrestling. Here are your hosts, Jerry Pickering and Dan Nawrocki.
Hey! We're back once again at the Finisher. We're working. We're live, man.
There we go. It seemed like everything was conspiring for a few minutes to keep us from going live. I was about to threaten you and the rest of the internet with bad covers of 80s synth pop songs unless this damn thing let us online, but we don't have to worry about that.
Don't you threaten me.
I didn't have to, but apparently
threaten the champ.
Yeah. Realizing apparently that synth pop is a weakness for you, I will go ahead and do that. The next time you fuck up, you're getting Falco right in your ear. Hey, how you doing? Welcome into the Finisher.
Welcome to the Finisher podcast. Podcast about wrestling. All that stuff. Not really much wrestling going on lately. I mean,
totally not about 80s synth pop.
Definitely not about 80s synth pop. For the love of God, it's not. You want to find out where we're at, you always can go to our website, thefinisherpodcast.com. The link is right down there. You can also find us on Facebook. If you're watching this live, you are here with us on Facebook. Facebook.com. Did you say hi, Mom?
No, I just said hi.
Oh.
Facebook. My mom doesn't watch this shit. Please.
Facebook.com/thefinisherpodcast. Check us out there. Same thing on Twitter and all the other locations. Like I said, you want to find out where you can find us on social media or on our podcast streams. Finisherpodcast.com is where everything is at. Go check it out there, and you'll be able to find us and know when we're live when you subscribe. Which I don't know if we're back on iHeart or not.
I haven't. I will get you that answer by the end of the show. How's that? I guess I gotta open us our page. I haven't gotten a thing yet, but that might be interesting. But besides that, whenever that happens, you can always use Spotify. You can always use Google Podcasts. Hopefully, really soon, you can use Apple Podcasts. Basically, wherever you find your better podcasts, we are available. Unless your better podcasts are found on the iHeartRadio app, which then we're not there yet.
We are not there.
Yet.
I searched.
Like I said, I'll keep looking. Anyway, as you said a little bit ago, a lot of things going on this last week in wrestling that weren't wrestling related, unfortunately. You'll always like to, if you do wrestling podcasts and you focus on wrestling news, you'd really like to hope that you have some wrestling to talk about. But unfortunately, that's not where we are in 2020.
No, we're COVID.
Well, that's a good place to start. Actually, that's still not. And the worst. Put it this way, and this tells you where the wrestling industry is right now. Is that the coronavirus is threatening to end wrestling right now? Just period. And that's still not really even the top story of the week.
True.
Think about that.
That's sad.
Well, unfortunately, it is sad from a human perspective. As that is, we're still catching all the fallout from the speaking out movement on social media.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot of companies distance themselves from talent who've had multiple accusations come forward against them. Impact actually having to do. I'm going out of order, I know, a little bit, but Impact having to do that a little bit as they let go this week, announced they had let go Joey Ryan, who oddly enough was doing a cancel culture gimmick in Impact, and that has got to be like the least surprising guy to get accusations of sexual impropriety against him. If you're not familiar with Joey Ryan, you probably are. You don't realize it because it's the dick flip guy. That's his gimmick, or was his gimmick. That's why the world knew him. He was the guy that would flip you by making you grab his dick and then take a bump with it. And how we never just conceptualize that he might be doing something is inappropriate behind closed doors when that's what he was doing in front of the camera.
In front of the crowd and in the camera of the world.
So
yeah.
no one, yeah. So Impact's the biggest one, but a lot of promotions. His own promotion, Bar Wrestling, has been shuttered. He's gone from social media. So who knows whether he'll ever actually have to face his accusers or whether there will be anything besides the loss of his career. Because some of the stuff sounds like there should be some prosecutors involved. In fact, as far as I knew, there were still prosecutors in the UK looking at a lot of talent. How many people did the WWE release? They had what? We had Jack Gallagher last week. Did they release Ligero?
I haven't heard of any releases besides Jack Gallagher.
Okay.
Gentleman Jack, as it was.
Yeah, well, apparently not. Jordan Devlin is on suspension.
I know Velveteen Dream is close.
Yeah, apparently, and there's sources that say that his time is numbered because the accusations against him, which kind of went away, like they came up like a month ago.
Yeah.
And there was some pretty damning stuff. And then they just kind of disappeared and then have recently come back in the wake of the speaking out movement. And if this source is to be believed, this company source, that those are about to get a lot worse and there's going to be no way that the company can even pretend anymore, and they're going to have to let him go.
Now, if they got a guy that they're really, really high on, would they kind of try to cover all that up, do you think?
You mean, I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
Because he was on SmackDown again last night.
Yeah, he was, which was taped Thursday. So it's not like it
was still happening.
A week to sit on this.
That's like, they're like, well, we really think this guy's going to be a big thing. We don't want to lose this guy. We don't want to ruin his career. Let's kind of believe him more than anything else.
I don't know that the Matt Riddle case is the most disputed one, because Matt has been, of everybody, it seems, he's been the first one to come up front, have text messages to back him up, and fight back against his accusers. So there might be a lot more to that story. It's going to get ugly one way or the other. I hope. I don't know. I have a feeling that if all this stuff, that the company's going to look really bad if all this stuff turns out to be found to be true. Yeah, and that you were protecting a guy that you knew, and they apparently knew about this beforehand. So they may have. I don't know if they had done their own investigation and decided that there isn't enough here to worry about, and if it comes out, we can back him up legally, or they really were just, this will never come out, and I can't believe you would be that ignorant to the way the world works these days, that these things weren't going to come to light if they were true. So
exactly. That was my first thought. I'm like, when I saw, I didn't watch SmackDown last night. I went to bed pretty early, but then I saw a clip of him, and I'm like, what?
Right?
What's going on here?
It's one of those. I thought you were taking these things. Your own statement said you were taking all these seriously, but you were waiting for the legal ramifications, which gave you the out. Right. I don't know if that's enough anymore, but we'll see. Gonna be some tense several months going forward here for a lot of people.
Exactly, and I mean, that's there's going to be a lot more things coming out of all of this, and I mean, I don't want to spend much time on. I mean, it's a big subject, but we do have a lot of other stuff to cover, so I don't really want to spend a lot of time on the speaking out movement, because we're kind of stuck. We're kind of still in the same place. I mean, you got the Joey Ryan thing is kind of something new. Velveteen Dream possibly being released.
Yeah, because that was a story that broke Thursday night, Friday morning. That's a relatively new report with inside sources. And then one that I know you weren't aware of, and I wasn't aware of until I was doing the research and roundup for last night for the show, is that one of the mainstays in East Coast independent wrestling will be going away for some time because of all of these things and speaking out. And that is Philadelphia-based Chikara is being shut down by co-owner and indie veteran Mike Quackenbush. And he resigned and closing his school, the Wrestle Factory, which has produced a ridiculous amount of talent over the years that it's been open. It's been, I think he opened the school and the promotion at the same time, so it's been about 18 years. And you have multiple allegations apparently against Quackenbush himself.
Oh yeah.
Against a couple of people in management and a couple of the people, and you've had multiple wrestlers, including guys who have been there since the beginning. Hollow Wicked was on the first show in 2002 and resigned from the promotion because of things coming to light with some of his colleagues. So
yeah, his tweet on the 24th read, "I have been made aware of recent allegations about myself and people in my employ. I take all allegations seriously, whether they are about me or members of my team. Addressing these with openness and transparency is of the utmost importance to me. So these matters can be given the proper time and attention. I am discontinuing Shikara and resigning as the trainer and the Wrestle Factory."
Okay, so maybe the Wrestle Factory is still going to continue.
That's Wrestle Factory.
When it's allowed to open, yeah. And we talked about this a little bit last week, and I don't know how you'd react to that, but man, is it disappointing, very highly disappointing, when you look at guys who you looked up to. Mike Quackenbush, during the brief time that I had trained, was kind of used as that model to look at. Like, if you were an indie wrestler, at least the trainer I was going to, he would cite Quackenbush a lot as the guy to look at, who does the small things, who gets the basics right, and who can then do a ton of stuff in the ring and in different styles. And if you wanted a guy to learn from, he was the guy to watch for that generation of indie guys. And it's really, man, it's disappointing to see him caught up on all this. But if it's all true, his behavior did that to himself.
It's a not good situation all around, in every aspect.
No, and and I didn't say this last week, but it's one of those unfortunate things. As other areas of entertainment were having their Me Too moments over the last year or two, in the back of your head, you're kind of like, oh, when is it going to come to wrestling? Somebody did some serious carny shit, and it's been going on for years. When is it going to finally? And I'm not saying it didn't need to. Obviously, there was problems that we have to get fixed quickly.
Exactly, and the time is now.
You can't. I hope you could hear that face I just made at him.
I really didn't think about it when I said it, but I thought about it after I said it. Sorry.
Speaking of horrible things coming back to the wrestling industry, which is a horrible way to do that, to try and transition. But hey, by the way, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it didn't go away just because your governor said, hey, it's safe to go to the bar again. Oh, wait, no, it's not. You can't go to the bar. Someone
in higher power said, it's over.
It's over. Don't come to work. Don't bring a mask.
I'm not going to get into that. So, what is it? COVID-19 outbreak in WWE is worse than originally reported, from reading?
Allegedly, we had, you had a couple people test positive.
Yeah.
And then it came out, one of them was announcer Kayla Braxton, who I guess had tested positive back in March, early in this thing, and then went back to work after she recovered and caught it again. Spoiler alert, you don't necessarily have immunity. That's unfortunately not how this thing works, which is why this bug is such a son of a bitch.
You can get it again and again and again.
Get it and again. It's not chicken pox.
Here's the deal, people. Wear a mask. I should have put mine on.
Oh, man. Yeah, I was going to say. Oh, wait, hang on. Actually, my gym bag's here. Oh, God.
Mine's in the other room. I can't get to it.
It's been in there with the pads and the
socks.
I'm not putting it on. I'm going to throw that one right in the... Oh, yeah, let me tell you. So, Yeah, so I play volleyball Saturday mornings usually before we do this, which is actually why this podcast has always been in the time that it has been on Saturdays. And yeah, I realize I have all that stuff in my bag, and that later on I'm not going to find the mask in there.
Good luck on that.
And if I could reach it, I would put on my La Parka mask, but that would make the microphone really difficult to say. Anyway.
But another big person, Renee Young, who lost backstage, that got canceled.
God. You want to talk about a horrible week for somebody.
Dude, she got kicked in the gut on that one.
Loses her television show, which was basically the reason she hung around and re-signed, as she was being given to kind of do a different broadcasting role, kind of something more along the lines of a traditional news broadcaster. That gets canceled by Fox, and it just basically turned into a special every once in a while, as opposed to a weekly show.
I guess, yeah.
Then she tests positive for COVID-19. And then, on top of that, the proximity of that whole thing is that she may have exposed her husband, who happens to be a world champion, who is supposed to work the main event in 2 weeks on the big summer card for AEW. Oh my God. I can't. I feel so terrible for her.
Oh, poor Renee Young. My question is, once his contract is up, is she staying or is she leaving and going to AEW?
Well, I don't know if you want to necessarily go to AEW. They seem to kind of have their stuff. Honestly, they seem like they have too many people in the broadcasting roles. But
and also, I read something about that it may fall to the wayside because it's not getting enough views. But I'm like, they're getting good views from what I can tell.
What will?
AEW.
They have a con, that's going to take a lot of money. They're going to buy the cons out big time.
Yeah.
I mean, for what it is on cable, it's doing well. It's going back and forth head to head with NXT. They've been floating between that 750 and 1 million views, depending on the week. So I don't know. I don't know who's saying it's going to go by the wayside. Like I said, they have a 2-year contract with TNT, and it's probably going to cost them a lot of money to get out of it. The cons kind of have them, by the short and curlies on that one.
They do, definitely. Let's see, what do we got?
So when we do our predictions for Fyter Fest, there is a giant asterisk next to the AEW World Title match, and that's why there may not be one. The world champion may be in isolation.
Yeah.
It's been a week, so let's see. I if you could see the sheet that we've got here.
That's what I'm trying to go through now.
We have a normal list of topics, and we kind of keep it to about 4 or 5. But there's been so many stories to go through. Like we talked about Velveteen Dream. It's something that has nothing to do with either sexual assault or a pandemic.
Are you going where I'm going?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Probably not. It's something that's with wrestling. Impact, which if someone, I will give you $5 so you can tell me where to find Impact Wrestling, because I've hell if I know.
No clue.
Fired their world champion this week.
That's what I just had up to talk about. Tessa Blanchard was released by Impact Wrestling.
And ironically enough, it had nothing to do with the rumors of her being a giant bully backstage, trying to keep other female members of the locker room down, or alleged racist statements against everything. It was because they just couldn't meet on money. And apparently she refused to send promos back from Mexico, where she's currently at, without being paid for getting a per diem for that. And I'm like, maybe, but I mean, you haven't
working.
You haven't worked since like February, so
it's true.
What you're supposed to come back in July to do Slammiversary. The very least you should be doing is setting some promos. So a history-making championship reign fizzles out because of contract negotiations.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because 2020. I don't know what else to tell you.
We have like some dust storm is coming through right now from the Sahara Desert too.
Right, the sandstorm from the Scorpion King is coming to just mess up. And I mean,
the Scorpion King, I like it. Everyone said like be great. I do photography, so I'm like there'll be great pictures of like the sunrise this morning. So I woke up to like go outside, and I'm looking outside. I'm like, this shit looks normal. I don't see nothing different.
No, well, at least you saw the sunrise. I woke up, rolled outside, and there was nothing but cloud, so I got nothing.
I didn't see a sun. I mean, it's supposed to be just like it's supposed to take the sky from blue to white.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I woke up and it'd be like some good colors with the sun. I'm like, the sunrise looks normal. It's blue. I woke up for nothing.
So
I went back to bed.
So, so our dust storm just hasn't quite made it up, huh?
I guess not. It's supposed to be today and tomorrow, so we'll see tomorrow what happens.
Okay.
We'll try it again.
That wasn't on the sheet, by the way. That was not.
That wasn't. You just said 2020. I'm like, here's what I have to say about 2020. When it hits New Year's Eve, December 31st, and you're counting down 10, 9, 8, get down to 1. Don't yell Happy New Year. Yell Jumanji so we can get out of this game.
Please.
Just yell Jumanji.
And we're barely we're at the halfway point. Like that's the like what could we possibly do worse?
Murder, pandemic, murder hornets, sandstorm, Scorpion King's pissed at us.
Dude. Now let's all be honest. The last person that we would all want collectively mad at us is Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
I want him to run for president.
It'd be very hard to vote against The Rock. I'm just saying. I don't think he has enough time to jump in this race. So Rock 2014 or 2024.
2014. You're going back in time.
If we could. Plus, it would keep him out of the. If you think about it, it would also keep him out of that main event program with Cena. So that would be pretty good too.
That would be.
Where the hell are we?
So speaking of the pandemic, and it looks like WWE is actually reportedly planning shows with real fans outside the Performance Center already.
Allegedly, they're looking to.
Is that something that's happening already? I mean,
that's another report that we got coming out. They're looking to book an arena. And of course, can I remember the name of the arena? Oh, of course not. But I guess they are actually looking to click. Thank you. They're actually looking to get an arena that's smaller. The building I remember them specifically saying they were looking at was something in the Florida area that Ring of Honor has run before. So it won't be a giant building. Yeah. And there'll be room to space everybody out. But again, allegedly, is that
RP Funding Center?
Enough? Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's what it's at. The RP Funding Center. So just one of the arenas listed in the potential venue for the WWE live show is RP Funding Center. The arena has been previously used for other wrestling promotions such as Ring of Honor. WWE is not confirmed on the reports as of this writing.
See, you doubt that I read the research material I send you. I read it all. What the hell else am I going to do with my time? And I would love to tell you where this is supposed to be, but the internet's not going to cooperate with me. So either way.
But it looks like they're starting to possibly get the idea of planning actual live shows with fans in arenas.
Here's the problem: is that the RP Funding Center is right there in Lakeland, Florida, and it's in Florida.
Right in the.
It's in Florida.
It's ground zero, if you would.
The hottest of hot spots right now for COVID-19 infections. Doesn't sound like a really good plan.
No. Speaking of something other that's gonna be hot, it's gonna be fire, and I'm so excited for it. Just actually change the subject on this. R-Truth.
That was a professional segue. Do
you like that?
Like you've done this before.
Possibly. R-Truth getting a game show set for July on the network.
Yeah, that's. I saw a really quick promo. It looks like it's gonna be just.
There's a promo for. I gotta find that.
Stupid fun. Yeah, there was a really short video on.
His R-Truth. His co-host is Little Jimmy.
Oh God. Okay. I mean, yeah, and again, in a time when we really could all use to have that kind of silly fun, which is why The Floor is Lava is doing huge right now on Netflix.
You got The Floor is Lava and a game of tag and parkour on TV, God, football's got to come back, man. We got to have football.
Have you watched the parkour guys? It's kind of ridiculous.
It is. It is.
They had their own They had their own game show ish like competition thing several years ago, and it took off for about 3 seasons. Our buddy Don introduced it to me, and then I got hooked and watched the entire thing.
Let's bring back MXC.
That might be the new season of Holy Moly. That might be the closest thing.
I can't stand watching that. I don't know.
I don't know, and I say that as someone who has all 5 seasons of MXC on DVD right there. Someone who has seen original, uncut, undubbed episodes of Takeshi's Castle. And honestly, they didn't have to work that hard on that one. They weren't that far off. No. But I digress again. Our Truth Game Show, I completely forgot about that one.
I just stumbled upon it, and I was like, yes, please.
There was one more story of someone being. I hate to keep swinging back, but it comes with another odd story on the backside. So we'll swing 330 degrees. In that one of the guys that Joey Ryan wasn't the only guy that Impact cut ties with because of these allegations. Dave Christ, one half of Ohio versus Everyone. Longtime veteran, especially in the tri-state area here, has had some really nasty things, so they let him go. And apparently they're also letting go of Michael Elgin, former Ring of Honor world champion, who had some not so things, great things said about him. But the interesting bit is the last taping, and this apparently didn't figure into his suspension or firing. At the last taping, Elgin and former world champion Sami Callihan came to blows.
Yeah.
Over how a tag match was going to go on finish, and I look at that and went, "Wow, that's the most old school thing I think I've heard in a long time." And more importantly, they did it backstage. They didn't do it in the ring. They didn't do it in front of the cameras. Sammy and Mike went out back and settled their differences, and then Sammy clearly won because he still has a job.
True. I mean, that is like you just said, an old school way of doing it.
Well, that's how. I hate to sound like Jim Cornette here, but that's kind of how the locker room policed itself back in the day. If someone was messing up, someone would try to have a word with them, and if he didn't like having a word with them, you beat his ass.
It's true. Someone who some would say would be the head of the locker room after many years is retiring. And is it true?
That is the big thing.
There's a lot of WWE fans are not believing it. The Undertaker, in the last segment of Undertaker Final Ride on the network, stating that he's had his final match. So that was AJ Styles.
It was the Boneyard match.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a way to go out. I can understand all the reticence to believe that he is retired, even though they set up a 5-part documentary series, which I think was probably he had already told the company, like, this is going to be like, I will do this here for you at WrestleMania. We will do what we need to do, and I think this is going to be it, like, for good.
But then there was another post where he said something about, if they call, I'll show.
He says something about if they dust off the Undertaker. I tend to believe the man. I tend to believe Mark Calloway at his word, that when he says in front of the cameras in multiple interviews, because he's been everywhere in sports media the last 2 weeks with this documentary. Yeah. It's kind of he's been kind of an interesting story for the regular sports media to cover because they didn't have anything else to do, and he's been out there. He's kind of opened up. He never, unlike other guys who came and went, he never really did any interviews outside of character. He didn't really do many shoots, and now he's it's kind of like he's on a book tour, but he has nothing to sell but this documentary. So I tend to believe him, but I also understand, and I will be willing to bet that the next time they go to Saudi Arabia, whenever that may be, probably next year, that they will make overtures to bring him back. And if he's smart, he'll go, The last time I went to the desert, I almost died because you had some old guy drop me on my head.
Unless it's one of those things where
no,
some jobber calls him out, he goes out just to be there, choke slams him, and is done, or something.
And an appearance is one thing because, when Steve Austin came out and called it quits because of his body, and he's never been back in the ring outside of making those kind of appearances.
Those kind of appearance, come in, stun a couple people, stand on the ropes, flip people off, drink a beer. He's done.
Yeah. So, in that case, you could see him make an appearance at WrestleMania or make an appearance at the next Raw milestone, something like that.
Things like that.
But, which I would be great to see.
He still has a big, long contract, but I see having an actual full-length match? No.
Probably not.
No, not at all.
And never on StarCast.
Exactly. But I guess last night they did a big tribute to him.
Yeah, I had heard about that.
Things. It was pretty cool.
Seen some of the highlights. It's kind of, how do you not
They've got to do more than just that thing on SmackDown Performance Center.
I imagine that over the next couple of weeks there will be, if you're subscribed to the network, prepare for a ton of Undertaker content, prepare for a ton of matches to be repurposed, and which is great. I'll watch it. I'm there. I will absolutely watch Undertaker matches here and there, and that's also the reason, because I was looking. It was a great excuse when this story came out earlier in the week to do a little bit of changing with the top 10. Top five. Oh, God, five. Top 10? No.
So,
do a little changing with our top 5.
So this week, it's time for our top 5?
Yeah, I assume
All
so.
right. That this week, our top 5 being the top 5 Undertaker matches.
Now, if you were paying attention to this show 1 week ago, you know that is not what I drew out of said cup.
No.
We were going to do worst factions of all time, but when world events precede things, we have the ability to change. And as you saw on our Facebook page, if you're not already following us at the Finisher podcast on Facebook, made a little announcement, change the order. So we're going to do that now, and our factions can wait till next week. And I don't have to do anything.
Is that what we're going to do? That's
what we're going to do. I hope you're prepared this week. Do you have your number 2 pencil?
I'm prepared.
Did you study real hard?
I studied extremely hard. All the hardness that I could study. It was super hard. My head hurts.
I'm not. Look, if you said it on the fucking tee like that.
Is that too loud?
I'm just gonna let it go. I don't know.
Can you hear it?
I can't hear a thing. So.
You can't hear the music?
No, I cannot.
All right. Well, I'll stop it. I had music underneath this.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to it. Top 5. Dan, what is your number 5?
Eager to see how many of these overlap, actually, if any of them. And I have a feeling that our 1 and 2 might be the same. But number 5 takes us all the way back to year 1 of The Undertaker. Take us all the way back to the Survivor Series, 1991, November 27th of that year, to be exact. The day Hulkamania died, as the Brain declared, against Hulk Hogan for the WWF Championship. The first time ever that belt was on the line at Survivor Series, and of course the first time it changed hands. Taker had been, like I said, it had almost been a year since he sort of debuted at the 1990 Survivor Series, and immediately right to the top, biggest heel, biggest challenge for the Hulkster since Andre, and it's in the middle of the heart of the zombie Taker era, and I love all of it.
The big old tie like thing and the purple gloves.
The big tie and the purple bright. Hogan sold a lot more than he normally did, and even though, to give credit where credit's due, it did take a little help from the Nature Boy. Hogan was finally put down, and the dead man had the gold for the very first time.
There we go. It's your number 5. My number 5, Unforgiven, 1998. Undertaker versus Kane Inferno match.
Yes, the first ever.
The first ever Inferno match. I thought it was such a cool effect. Slamming down, the flames go up. And probably a stupid idea for a match, for safety reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot that could have gone wrong there. I could see that, but at the same time, you also have that moment where Paul Bear has run back up the aisle to the guy at the controlling the gas that's pulling up the flames, and he shoved him aside. And every time Taker goes to try and go to the rope to get the ring, Bear is lighting him up. And so he eventually says, screw it, and does a dive over the top rope and over the fire onto Kane to the outside.
Yep. Such a great match. I enjoyed it. I've watched it quite a few times. Actually, I watched it the other day in preparation for this top 5. So that's my number 5. Dan, what is your number 4?
Okay, we can keep it going this way. My number 4 takes us a little bit farther in the future. And it takes us to an episode of Raw, July 1st, 2001, when The Undertaker defended the Undisputed Championship against Jeff Hardy in a ladder match. And oh my God, what an absolute brilliant story that they told with what should have been a squash match with a stipulation. Taker in full heel American Badass mode.
I loved American Badass Taker.
And he and Jeff just built this story around Jeff Hardy getting his ass handed to him over and over again, and Taker never being able to break him and never being able to keep him down until finally, I forget how I think it was a chokeslam off the ladder before he finally was able to keep the belt. This match did so much more for Jeff Hardy than for Taker. But it was representative of an important part of the character for so long and the man for so long, his ability to make someone famous. I think I want to say that might have been a catchphrase.
Possibly.
Maybe. Might have been on a T-shirt or something.
My number 4 happened April 1st, 2012. WrestleMania 28. Undertaker beating Triple H in a Hell in a Cell to mark the end of an era, with Shawn Michaels refereeing. Just that match, at the end of that match, where they're all three up on top hugging, was kind of symbolic, kind of brought everything from my childhood together in one, and I thought it was great.
And we thought it would actually be the end of an era, and then
nope,
not so much. Didn't Triple H have at least one more world title run after that?
I think he did.
Yeah.
Because why not? Dan, your number 3?
Because I can breathe air, I swear. My number 3 is also a Hell in a Cell match. So weird that the progenitor of that match would come up over and over again in this list. But this takes us back to No Mercy on October 20th, 2002, when Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I have a Heyman in me right now. Did battle in the cell for the WWE Championship. That match. Remember all the crap Hell in the Cell matches we talked about last week? Yeah, go find this match, because that match is what a Hell in the Cell is supposed to be. It was a bloodbath. Far better than their WrestleMania encounter, 14 years later. It was 30 minutes in the cell, hard-hitting, violent. Paul Heyman bled buckets in this match. A true spectacle.
When Paul Heyman was buried in concrete.
That was Paul Bear.
Paul Bear, sorry.
That was killed in concrete at the Great American Bash.
That's great.
But that match with Lesnar, the one they had the month before in Unforgiven, was also a pretty hard-hitting affair. The cell match was far better.
That's your number 3?
That's my number 3.
My number 3, Undertaker. Go ahead.
I said, no, I mean, I'm taking notes for the blog post later.
Taker sends Edge to hell. SummerSlam 2008. August 17th, 2008. Always an Edge fan and huge Undertaker fan. I thought this match was great. heavy hitting match. One of my favorite ones. I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't go in depth like you do, but as one of my favorite matches from the Undertaker and Edge.
By 2008, I was no longer an Edge fan.
I know.
I was done with Edge by 2008. But anyway,
what's your number 2?
My number 2.
Can I get the button? Go ahead.
You be waiting for the button?
Oh, go ahead.
You got the button?
Gets hit.
Button. Who's got the button? Not this guy. And my number 2 match. It was really hard to come up with words because I don't know how much more could be said about this one. Number 2 goes back to Houston, Texas, April 5th, 2009, on the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, considered one of the greatest Mania matches ever, against Shawn Michaels. This match was so good in the ring. Like, you can completely ignore the fact that we knew Shawn was going down. Like, Shawn was not going to break the streak. We knew this.
No.
Ignore the fact that they gave themselves like 2.5 weeks to build this story and hype this match. You could say that this match could be considered for one of the best performances of either guy's entire career. They took each other to the limit and beyond. There was so much emotion wrapped up in this match, and you thought, hey, you look at this going, Shawn's not going to break the streak. But maybe the biggest upset in Mania history is just around the corner. In the end, Shawn became victim number 17, and I think Jimmy Snuka's kid became victim number 18 in the middle of that match.
See, you were flip-flopping on your number 1 and 2?
I was. I went back and forth a couple of times figuring out what was going to be number 2, what was going to be number 1.
And I've been flip-flopping too. So my number 2 is November 22nd, 1990, which is The Undertaker's debut. His first ever. It wasn't really. I mean, I guess it was a match.
I mean, it was a Survivor Series match.
Yeah, it was his very first, his debut.
Versus who?
I know he pinned. He ended up winning, Dusty? Picking Junkyard Dog, I think it was. No.
Dusty, Brett. Who was the tag team with him? Or was it Dusty, Brett, Anvil? Dusty, Brett, Anvil, and someone. Go on. I'll look this up real fast.
I just watched it and I can't remember who it was.
Like I said, my memory, I should have this committed to memory. It's kind of pissing me off that I
can't. Who had the bird? Coco. It was Coco Beware.
That's right. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm like I know it, but I couldn't. I remember the bird. Who had the bird? Coco. So it was the ending was him tombstoning. I think that's a tombstone. I think because they don't know he's new. How do they know these names?
Right, and that was kind of impressive that Gorilla had named that.
Look at those ham hocks, which is what they said as he come walking down the ring.
And the best part is that he eliminated. Brett, Dusty, Coco, and Iron. He eliminated like everybody.
Yeah.
And then got counted out. So he didn't factor into the actual finish of the match, but then took out Dusty and Coco pretty quickly.
Pretty quick. Like I said, that was one of my favorite ones, and I flip-flopped with my number 1 and number 2. So that's my number 2. Dan, let's get the golden one up there, number 1. Who's your number 1 pick?
I'm actually kind of surprised we got this far and have not repeated.
We did last week.
We did it last week, and I assumed it would happen this week.
It may happen here.
Possibly. For the second time on this list, we go into the Cell. But the very first Hell in a Cell match, October 5th, 1997, Bad Blood in Your House against Shawn Michaels. There is so much working for this match because, it was an incredible battle. And it set that bar for everything that was to come inside the Cell from here on out. Cell matches now we're still trying to live up to what Taker and Michaels did back 23 years ago. Michaels actually got plenty of offense in and took a hell of a beating. I remember the him giving the Taker that pile driver on the steel steps. Ooh. And it just, and no other pile driver on the steps. It's been done a lot of times. None of them look as good as that one. He, by the way, I know this is it. Michaels, by the way, everyone forgets, also the first to fall off the cell in a far less remembered table spot than Mick's fall 9 months later. Also, let's not forget that this one match set off the next 6 months of main events in the company, and even more so was the point where an angle started that had been continued on and off for about 25 years going forward. Of course, the debut of Kane.
Yep.
Coming down, ripping the door off the hinges and busting his way into the cell to destroy his brother. But another aspect that kind of goes the way of the memory here, this was also a match to become the #1 contender for the world title. A world title match that the winner would get at Survivor Series 1997. And that leads to, well, we know. We know what that leads to. You know what you did, Earl. You know what you did. The physicality, all of the build, the story in this match, the stories coming out of this match, everything that Hell in a Cell match did makes it easily my favorite Undertaker match.
Well, you thought we were not going to have any together. You thought we were, but then it was looking like we weren't. Well,
I would have thought it had been a different match, actually.
We are not going to have any of that match.
Swerve. Thanks, Russo.
I put the classic, my #1. June 27th, 1998. King of the Ring. I mean, I had to. Taker throwing off Mankind off the top of the cage, through the announcer table. Mankind being rolled out, getting off the gurney as it's going up the ramp, comes back down and climbs to the top of the cage again. And Taker slamming him through the center of the cage, falling down with a chair falling on top of him as he landed. His tooth in his nose, straight through. I mean, to the fact that you could see Taker say, Mick, stay down, stop. Stop doing this shit. Just relax. You know, you got Terry Funk getting in there and losing a shoe, and
Terry Funk literally got chokeslammed out of his shoes. Because Mick has always said that he came to, and that was the first thing he saw, and he was really confused as to why there was a pair of tennis shoes in the middle of the ring.
Getting to sit and talk with him and talk about that match was just surreal. The different things that he would tell me. He didn't feel anything when that tooth was. He couldn't feel it. He could see it. He could tell it was there. So he pandered to the camera and stuck his tongue through his lip. Just like, you're a sick bastard, and I love it. But I think that's my #1 Undertaker match with Mankind, Survivor Series 1990.
As we said, we did no honorable mentions because it would have taken us forever.
It would have taken forever, and we still got to do picks. And we actually have a guest picker that's going to be joining us.
Have a guest picker, and
I'm just waiting for him to pop up so I can add him.
That was a note for the editor, which is me. If you're watching this live, it's about to slow down a little bit as I try and tap dance and get our guy in here. So I have sent him the link, and
I'm waiting for it to pop up, and I'll add him in. We'll see how this is going to look on the stream. I have no idea what the.
Yeah, this is new. This is new for us. We're trying to do that.
Get rid of the #1 here.
I know, but if you listen to this podcast later on, all of this will be gone. But if you watch on YouTube,
I'll be cleaned up. So I had music for the pick for the top 5, but it sounded really loud in my ears, so I ended up stopping. I tried turning it down, but that didn't work. I don't know. We'll see how it sounds on the podcast.
Figure that out. Yeah, we'll have to figure this out.
Because you can't hear the open, can you?
Not really. Like I vaguely hear that it's there, but I don't hear how many levels it's in. So.
Gotcha. I'll have to figure all that out. But so we got our picks for Fyter Fest.
Yep. I'm sitting here watching the Hangout chat, waiting for him to actually see it. So I may have also screamed "Let's Rumble" in the Hangout chat. So there's also
Fyter Fest. I mean, we got quite a few matches over 2 nights, which is going to be over on TNT, which is basically just Dynamite. It's going to be Fyter Fest these next couple of weeks, I guess.
Yeah, the interesting thing is this was originally supposed to be A, on pay-per-view, and B, the United Kingdom debut for AEW. They were going to do it over in London. And unfortunately, obviously, the world went to hell, and that did not happen.
So you got a ton of matches before. I mean, we got, what do we have?
Well, we got 5 this coming Wednesday.
AEW, for the night 1, we're going to have AEW while we're waiting for them. I'll just go over with the night 1 matches. AEW Tag Team titles, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, versus the Best Friends. AEW TNT Championship, Cody versus Jake Hager. Women's title, Penelope Ford versus the champion. How do you say her name? I have no idea.
Karushida.
That name.
Just as a heads up, if we're gonna do things in wrestling, you probably should be able to.
I should be able to get these names down.
To get some Japanese names, they make him come up in the news a little bit.
This is a little bit. Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus versus MJF and Wardlow.
Hell of a name. It's his real name.
This is his real name?
It's his real name, apparently.
And Private Party versus Santina and Ortiz. Those are your matches for night 1. Now we have, like you said, we have an asterisk night 2, one of the big matches for night 2, which is AEW World Title Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage.
And if the champ doesn't have the Rona, then yes, that will happen. If not, I do not know what they're going to do.
Dan's got stuff going on both these next 2 Wednesdays. So maybe next Sunday, after both of these are done, I'll add him here in a second. We'll sit down and watch it. What's that?
Yes, it worked. Allegedly it worked.
Oh, so we'll sit down and watch it and do a live stream, even though it'll be a couple of weeks late for him, but it'll just be fun.
It'll still be us, and yes, we'll get together. So that'd be a whole different thing.
All right, let's go ahead. Let me get my sheet here.
Let's bring him in.
Let's go ahead and bring in Zach. See how this works. See if this screws everything up.
It's live, folks. It's live. It's at least on Facebook. It's live.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy with his background and his nice studio mic.
That's how we do it, man.
This bastard's richer than I am. Damn.
Let me welcome to the finisher for the first time, even though we've tried to get him on before. It's the first time it's worked up. Let me introduce to you the co-host of Fairly Kick-Ass, the podcast, which you'll find at fairlykickass.com.
Never heard of it.
And the co-host of... Shit, you told me it last night. Your poker podcast is...
The Mixed Grill Poker Podcast.
Available at?
Nowhere yet. Soon to be on everywhere where you can get podcasts, and also soon to be live on YouTube as well every Sunday. So yeah.
Nice. So if you like the cards, remember to check that out.
Yeah, we're your men. 3 of us. We've played a long time, and we're hoping to impart some knowledge on everyone, but we're going to impart some knowledge about some wrestling stuff from what I understand.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to bring you in is more than anyone else that I could think of right now. The guy of someone who has been wrapped up and gotten hooked by AEW. A lot of times you're the one that's telling me what's going on in Dynamite. I have no cable, so I'm picking it up after the fact. Right. You're giving me the live play-by-play. So we wanted to bring you in with a 2-week defense of, as you can see on his shoulder now that he's finally with him. We were finally able to meet up after 3 months.
That's some nice hardware, my friend.
Our current reigning predictions champion.
That's right, baby.
Which you'll find the history of. Now, you do realize that if you happen to win this title, you have to keep coming back.
Hey, that's fair for me, man. As long as y'all keep having me, I will be there.
You're going to come back and predict even WWE. Do you watch WWE?
Sparingly, not as much as AEW, admittedly, but I'll watch the pay-per-views. I'll watch
NXT,
SmackDown every so often.
NXT, WWE, we're gonna we predict all those as well. So
if we ever gonna a new date for it, we'll also predict the Crockett Cup whenever NWA finally gets to show that show again.
The Crockett Cup, huh?
Yeah, the Crockett Cup.
All right. Let's get this started off with night 1. AEW Tag Team titles. I'll go ahead and set this over here. Go ahead, Dan.
Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page defending against the best friends who have been on a tear lately in Dynamite. Welcome to the show, Zach. Will we see some new champions, or will we see some more cowboy shit?
Man, it's hard to vote against the best friends at this point. Like you said, they have been booked extremely strongly over the last month or so. Obviously, their booking with Orange Cassidy has helped them a lot. But it's hard for me to fathom Omega and Page dropping the belts, at least not at this point, and at least not to the best friends specifically. I could see them dropping to the Bucks, of course, to another very high-profile tag team, FTR, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, I don't foresee the straps being put on the best friend, so I'm definitely going the Cleaner and the Hangman.
I have to agree, and I kind of waffled on that a little bit as well. But yeah, I mean, it's not to say that their performance hasn't deserved it, but like you said, I don't think right now they can still draw out this team disintegrating, because they kind of came together during Double or Nothing. And haven't really had a chance to get back into the friction between the two teammates, and then between Page and the rest of the Elite. So,
I'm going Adam Page, Kenny Omega retaining.
All right, so unanimous decision there. The second of three title matches, by the way, 3 title matches. Your first night of Fyter Fest, impressive as all hell. Cody defending the AEW TNT Championship against Jake Hager, and an interesting one to pick. I will admit I've also waffled on this one, but Zach, where did you land?
I think in my heart, I feel like it makes sense for Cody to drop the belt at this exact moment. It doesn't make sense for him to come out week after week and really, battle against mid-carders. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. And if you're going to give a belt to anyone, give it to a stable that could really, really use a strong, solid win, especially with how they've been booked over the last couple months, especially with what happened with Sammy Guevara, which I'm guessing you guys have already touched on.
Yep.
Yeah, I do think that's going to be the direction that Hager's going to end up as the champion.
Out of all of out of everything we talked about to start the show, Sammy was the one we didn't. So if you didn't already know, Sammy Guevara has been suspended indefinitely by AEW.
Did we talk about that last week?
Well, he apologized in the subsequent week. He's been suspended indefinitely.
Gotcha.
So you know the story. That's the result. And Sammy decided he's going to step away from social media and try to fix himself. So yeah, as you said. So.
And I'm in agreement. I'm going Jake Hager taking the title.
Oh, so are you both saying Hager's to take it here?
Yes, ma'am.
In the dissenting vote, sir.
You know what? I am the dissenting vote here, and I say Cody retains, if for nothing else, so they can go back to his program with the Murder Hawk, because that's a match that I want to see again, and that's a match that I want to see Arn and Jake get actually more involved in than just yelling at each other, and a really weird pair of ejections. So I want to see him retain, just so down the line, maybe at All Out, we can have Archer and Cody again.
So you want to see an old man need hip surgery, is what you're saying? Too old, man. I mean,
no, I didn't. Look, I didn't say anything about what Arn and Jake had to do. Jake's pretty much already, I think, stopped DDTing everyone, so he'd have to eat a spine buster.
That's fair.
Just the way it is. Just the way it is. Got to send the people home happy.
That's true.
Title match number 3. Hikaru Shida defending her AEW Women's Championship against the also hot, and I mean that as in on fire in the ring, Penelope Ford.
Both of which have been so incredibly impressive. And, maybe 3 months ago, I would not have, you could have, I would never have guessed that this would be a AEW women's title match in a million years, but they both deserve it. They've both been extremely strong. Like you said, they've both been super hot. I would love to see Sheeta and Nyla Rose have another go at it at some point, and I think that Sheeta probably still has some miles left on those champion tires, so I'm going to pick Sheeta to retain against the Penelope Ford. But this could be a match that could easily steal the show on the first night.
Absolutely,
definitely. I'm in agreement with him.
I mean, I'm going to make it boring, but I will agree on the simple fact that, as you said, there are still some mileage there between Sheeta and Rose, and again, another rematch would be amazeballs. So to our two undercard-ish matches, as the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus will take on MJF and Wardlow. Coming off of their pay-per-view stealing performance at Double or Nothing, MJF and Jungle Boy get back in the ring.
And that's what you want to see. I mean, the two of them work so well individually. They work so much better together. I feel like those two are better as a sum of their parts than individually. I've got nothing but love for Luchasaurus and Wardlow, but I think that, MJF and Jungle will carry this match. Marco will probably be involved at some point. But yeah, as far as, man, it's that might be the toughest one to pick out of the five of them for the first night. But I think the heels can definitely use a win for the same reason I think Hager could use a win in his match. So I'm going to go with MJF and Wardlow by way of the Dynamite.
Ooh, okay.
All right. I'm actually going with Jungle Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus.
Alrighty. And I am Team MJF. Because, look, the sooner that you all realize that he's better than you, the better we will all be in life.
We're friends on Facebook.
So. I know, you're friends on Facebook. I saw that.
Best heel in the game right now.
But I don't know if you ever seen it, Zach. If you Google his full name and Rosie show, there's a clip of him on the Rosie O'Donnell show when he was a kid singing "You Are My Sunshine."
Yep, that happened.
Wow, it's there. Was a real thing. I played it for Dan, and he enjoyed it very much. So
that is amazing.
When crowds come back, I can see that chant coming. That the crowd will just start singing that at him. And if not,
it up too.
He will. He absolutely will. It'll be gold. Gold, Jerry!
What? Huh?
Oh, hey, that actually works.
And let's see, the last match we have for night one, Private Party taking on Proud and Powerful. Does the Inner Circle get just one win on night one of Fyter Fest?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Private Party is a hard ticket to pick against right now. I did love the TNT Championship match that Mark Quinn had with Cody. I thought that was a phenomenal match. I really did. I see this being the beginning of kind of that next level booking for them in a very, very stacked tag scene in AEW. And I think a win against Santana Ortiz will be just what they need to kind of propel them to that next level. So I'm going Private Party.
And I'm with him. I don't see Santana Ortiz picking this one up. I think it's going to be Private Party taking this one as well.
Please stop disparaging the poor man's name. It's Santana.
Santana, whatever.
Santino.
Same difference.
Santino was a giant 4-year mistake in the Fed.
I don't read well, damn it. I'm dyslexic. Kiss my ass, you bearded bitch.
Even if I will say the honkometer was pretty entertaining, but that was about it.
Very underrated wrestler too. Santino Marella was like pure wrestling skills.
Nah, he's right where he belongs.
Come on. He was solid.
He won Miss Wrestle fucking Mania. You lose all right to claim anything about your amateur credentials. When you destroy, never mind. Let's move on because it's not worth it.
He had the Cobra, you bastard.
Angry about. Yeah, I know. It was
good.
The dumbest finisher of all time.
All right, quit being a bitch. Who do you pick?
I already said I was with you guys for private party.
All right. Sorry about that. Are we doing night 2 now, or are we gonna do night 2 next week?
Let's just knock it out. Let's knock it out now. We're here. Here. We may as well do it. Because some of us know how to silence their phone. You bitch.
It was silence. It was an alarm. So kiss my ass, you fucking whore.
No, I think I believe my
the love voice.
He's coming after my title. Damn it!
We're nothing if not professional here on the finisher.
I like it.
Not at all. Not at all.
Let's go ahead and start out night 2 in a match that I am so excited to see. I hope this thing takes like 5 segments of the show. FTR and the Young Bucks taking on the Butcher, the Blade, and the Lucha Brothers.
Oh shit! You jumped.
No, I'm doing them. Yeah, maybe. I would. Yeah, to the bottom of the whatever. 8-man tag team mayhem from quite possibly 3 of the greatest tag teams working right now, and one that deserves more acclaim than they probably get right now.
I mean, as a fan of tag team wrestling, as a fan of just like pure tag team wrestling, like, is there a bigger wet dream than this match? You know,
only one: FTR versus the Young Bucks.
Thank you for saying that, because that's exactly where my head was at too. That like, if you look at these matches, these would be, you know, obviously with the Butcher and the Blade and FTR kind of having their program, FTR having a program with everyone under the sun, regardless of what promotion they work with. The Lucha Brothers could make us look like, you know, the best tag team in the world, just, you know, as good as they are. Yeah. As far as selection, I think the faces, you know, faces for lack of a better term, FTR and the Young Bucks, but you know, I think this will be running away the best match of the entire 2-night card.
Exactly,
without question.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Are you going FTR as well, Dan?
Indeed.
Same here.
I'm gonna go FTR like from here on out. So we'll just go ahead, because I think these guys are, like I said, they're the best tag team today.
And when they were with it was the Revival, they were great heels.
Oh, they were amazing. Like, they were amazing. They never got the opportunity to fulfill their potential, even as multiple tag team champions in that company. And yeah, so.
And when it's like I've told Dan, and it was one of the funnest nights ever, going to the live show that was here in Toledo, and arguing with FTR, with the Revival at that point, yelling back and forth at them trying to come out towards me, but they wouldn't cross it. They wanted me to cross it, and I'm like, hell, I ain't crossing that thing.
I get arrested.
I'm not getting arrested or kicked out.
Yeah.
But it's yelling at them, and they were just like, I had AJ Styles just look at me and go.
That would have been a blast.
That was a fun night.
You know, since we were talking about live shows, and this completely slipped my mind, and I wanted to talk about this in the introduction here, is that speaking of live shows, Zach and I's wrestling fandom goes a long way back to a live show in August of 1999 down at the Seagate Center, when Zach and I got our teenage asses run the fuck over by Bubba Ray Dudley in the middle of a street fight at an ECW television taping. What was the first TNN taping they did, and then the match that was God,
I wish I could find that clip just to see if I see that actually happen.
It's out there. The match itself was because it was the Dudleys against Spike and Balls.
Yep.
And Spike and Balls won the tag straps after Bubba powerbombed Spike over the top rope and through 2 flaming tables. And that was as far as, like, that was too far for TNN, so that match never aired on television.
The one the one that you got ran over during?
Yeah, because we had fought, like, we were sitting on the bleachers, like, because they had the floor seats, and then the bleachers, we were like row 1 or 2 of the bleachers, and and they were fighting over towards the concession stand, the big one in the back corner of the Seagate Center. So we're like, well, screw this, we're gonna go stand in the crowd. And I forget what it was, but he ended up just kind of doing this after getting hit and backing right into both of us.
Oh, I guess we can find that somewhere.
I've never seen us on camera, so I don't know if that was just we were kind of missed by the shot. But yeah, that tells you how long we've been talking about and watching wrestling together. It goes way back.
All right, next match.
Our next match is a 6-man encounter as all 3 members of SoCal Uncensored. This is, in fact, the worst town I have ever been in.
That's a good callback.
They will take on Mr. Brody Lee and Stu Grayson of the Dark Order and Colt Cabana.
And I'm taking Colt Cabana in the Dark Order.
Taking Colt Cabana. Is it true? Is Colt with the Dark Order?
Oh gosh, no, I don't think so. I think this is going to be a swerve. I don't think it's going to be like a huge swerve, but I definitely think that Colt is going to not join the force of darkness and evil at the end of the day. But I do think that him and the Dark Order are going to win this match. That
really?
He's going to see that there's some overbooking, some interference with Brody, with Stu, and he's going to walk away from that. But they are going to win.
Okay, so you two are taking Colt and the Dark Order, and for all the reason that you just said, though, why I'm taking SoCal Uncensored, because Colt was never interested in joining. In fact, he's going to cost the Dark Order this here match and affirm his place against the darkness. And then now you have an entire program that Colt and and everyone under Brody Lee in the Dark Order can go with, and Brody Lee can do whatever the hell Brody Lee wants to do. Because you gonna tell him no?
I wouldn't tell him no. I wouldn't tell him anything.
Except
for yes, sir.
I'm going to say yes, sir, and
yes, sir.
make sure as hell. If I feel like I'm going to sneeze, I'm going to run my ass out the room.
That is an imposing dude.
Our next matchup is a bit of an enigma.
How are we going to pick this?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Do we just make this a skip or make this a win for all, or?
Yeah, let's just make this +1 but let's make this +1. But what I will do is take everyone's predictions for who this mystery opponent of the Native Beast will be.
No, I have no idea.
I mean, is Britt ready to return? Like, that would make sense.
Britt Baker.
I don't think so.
I don't know how close she was with her recovery.
Yeah, that seemed like it was Sarah. And it's obviously
it's the only one I could think of was her.
Yeah, unless there's some debut. Yeah.
Well, here I have 2 ideas. So, because of seeing on some things on social media, it may be the return of Mel, who's been gone for quite a while after that weird nightmare collective thing, or the return of someone we have not seen in a very long time that everybody wants to see in the ring with Nyla Rose.
Leva Bates. Fingers crossed.
No, I would want to see her get snapped in half. However, one awesome Kong would be amazing to see in the ring. Yeah, think about that one, boys.
Golly, what a slugfest that would be.
We'll just recount that as being a +1 for everybody. So
please let that happen. Yeah,
everyone gets a free win. Up next, I think this one's probably going to be a unanimous pick as the Murder Hawk. Lance Archer takes on the bad boy, Mr. Fuck You, Jim Cornette himself, Joey Janela.
I love the work that Joey and Sonny Kiss have been doing.
Oh my God.
That's been amazing.
The Concrete Rose have been an awesome team. Yeah. They've been entertaining as hell.
Yes, they have. But Joey Janela has no chance. This will probably be a squash.
No.
The Hawk is going to run over.
Are you picking?
No. Jake ain't going to be out there for more than 3 minutes on this one, boys.
For sure. We got a puppers in the mix.
Yeah, she wants attention.
I would say get this guy a fucking puppers, but he literally has puppers.
Yeah.
Get him another puppers.
God, no. This one's enough. Go lay down.
But more importantly, what is he concurring with us in this squash match?
Yeah, I'm going Lance.
All right. Your semi-main event of night 2. Freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy cakes the biggest match of his career.
Did anyone see what happened with him and Jericho the other night?
And the go-home show? Yeah.
His ear?
Yeah.
I don't know if he just got slashed or if he had like a cauliflower that just popped or what, but it looked gnarly.
Yeah, obviously, he's taking on Le Champion, your champion, my champion, Chris Jericho.
Everybody's champion.
The bubbly.
So it's over there. I still have a bit of the bubbly, but it's way over there.
You actually bought one. That's awesome.
Well, I have a bottle of bubbly. I didn't have, unfortunately. Hey, look, I don't make that kind of money to actually get a real bit of the bubbly. Times is tough, you know what I'm saying?
I feel you, man. This to me would be the hardest match of night 2 to pick. You know, I would probably yes, what a classic. I would probably go Jericho here. You know, I do think that Jericho winning will help to further more of a program between him and Orange Cassidy. It's certainly not the last I want to see of the two of them in any capacity, but I do think Jericho is going to end up taking it here after a really, really solid match for both of them.
Agree. Orange Cassidy got the best of him last week, and I think Jericho's going to come back for blood, and I think he's going to take the match.
However, at the same time, he also got the best of Orange Cassidy. He busted Orange up.
That is true.
Got him with the bag of Valencia oranges. Shows him who's boss and doesn't leave a bruise. That's terrible, but at least I got one. I got a Family Guy reference into the show.
Oh. Dead Kruna.
Which is all the more reason that, and like you both have said, you want to see more of this, which is all the more reason that Orange Cassidy takes this match next Wednesday. And then you almost kind of have a reworking of the angle that Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid did, where the established veteran is so upset and incensed that he got beat by the young guy that he demands him, and you just drag this out week over week, that he demands another chance. And Orange Cassidy's just kind of like, I won.
All right.
Shrug emoji.
Those are our picks for Fyter Fest the next couple of weeks, each day on Wednesday night on TNT.
You ignore that we've ignored the main event of the 2 nights. That may or may not happen.
I skipped it thinking it wasn't even happening. So.
Well, we don't know yet.
Really?
We don't know yet. Well,
that's right, Mox, because of the yeah.
Moxley's wife has COVID, so if he's clear.
That's a good point. Yeah, I wonder if there is a contingency plan.
That's a very good question, because you're not going to strip him of the title, I assume.
Right.
No.
You can't.
But you don't want Brian Cage just sitting there in the back doing nothing.
No, you can't do that. So is this the time? Is it Brian Cage's time, or does Mox have a little more life on this title run?
I say Mox is going to retain if it happens.
It's hard for me to fathom bringing in a guy like Brian Cage and not putting the strap on him, because what else are you going to do with him? You know, Taz is brilliant, obviously, but Brian Cage is just kind of like the Brock Lesnar, you know, kind of sit there and look big and pretty and, you know, bash people in every 6 months type. So
you're predicting a title change.
As much as I don't want to, because I think that there are way better matches that Mox can have with the ECW, or with the ECW, Jesus, with the AEW roster than Brian Cage can. You know, I do think that that's going to be the case. Again, like you said, if it does happen, I think the title does change hands.
I hate to say it, but I think, like we've said on a lot of things, there's a lot more that can be done here. So if you're going to give it to Cage, I don't know if this is the time. We'll have to go with Moxley retaining on this one. I think you want to give Moxley at least as long of a run with a belt as Jericho had, and he's only had it since February. So, give him one more monster to vanquish, and then, honestly, if you want to make that title switch, you make it at Blood and Guts whenever they held that.
Happens.
Of course, they're gonna need to add a few people to bolster the inner circle. So someone's gonna have to turn here pretty soon. But maybe you bring in Brian Cage for the night to mess up the Elite and Matt Hardy in Blood and Guts. I don't know. All I'm saying is Moxley retains. That's what I'm gonna go with.
All right, we got you down on that. And I think that's it. Sorry, I skipped that one. I was like, it's not even happening, so I just kind of ignored it when I went through it.
Well, we don't know yet. If it happens, it'd be great. If it doesn't happen, unfortunately, it'll recover quickly. Feel better.
All right, let's see. So those are our AEW Fyter Fest predictions for this coming Wednesday and the following Wednesday. Guest picker Zach, thanks for joining us. We're going to end the show here. You can hang on for a minute. But make sure you follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/TheFinisherPodcast. All of our social, all of our podcast links, you can find them at thefinisherpodcast.com, so go check us out there. Dan's always got blog posts up there. All this podcast information, all this information will be up there later with all of our top 5, our picks. Everything will be there for you a little later on today. The podcast will go up a little later. It'll also be over on YouTube. You can find, like I said, all those links over at thefinisherpodcast.com. So until next week, we'll have a new top 5, which is what we're supposed to have this week, which is the worst factions, and we'll go over.
Yo, you dealing with the X Factor?
Well, I know one that's going to be on your list.
God.
And I'd say we're going to go over Fyter Fest, but I'm not sure. We'll figure that out if we're going to talk about it, if we're going to skip it and do.
We just may do a score update next week.
We may just do a score. Yeah, that works. So until next week, we'll see you guys then next Saturday. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
Nawrocki.
Oh, I screwed it up. Look at that shit. Let's try it again.